Hi everyone, welcome to the Self-Published Strong podcast. I'm your host, Andrea Pearson, and I'm joined today by my husband.
Hi, I'm Nolan.
And we have a guest person here today. What is your name and who are you?
I'm David J. West.
Oh, I forgot you have the J in there.
Ouch.
I have a J in there, if that means anything.
If that means anything. I don't generally forget you have a J in there.
Yeah, I only put it on all my books.
It's true. Well, I don't read your books, so
That's true.
just kidding. Wait, is it not on this one?
No, my pen name outsells me.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's all right.
You're like,
As long as stuff sells and the money comes to the same bank account.
no kidding. Okay, so we're talking about Casino Royale today, and and then we'll be doing Hunger Games next week, and then 10 Things I Hate About You, and then Finding Forrester. And after that, I believe we're doing our next marketing episode. And so, David, do you have any updates for us this week?
You mean like a quote?
Well, we'll get to that in a minute. What are you working on right now? Tell them what you write, everything about yourself.
With my pen name, James Alderdice, I've had some good success with Brutal, and I'm just about to release the sequel, Fierce.
Sweet.
Yeah.
And Brutal is?
Brutal is like Conan,
Erotica.
Not quite. It's a little light on the erotica. It's a sword and sorcery action adventure. It's kind of like Conan the Barbarian meets Fistful of Dollars.
Nice.
So it's stranger comes to town. And Fierce is more that stranger ends up in a strange land.
Okay.
So having fun with it.
That's awesome. I forgot you had a pen name. That's so crazy.
Well, I started to try and apply some marketing things, and it's worked out big time.
That's so awesome. That's really cool. Let's see. How did we meet? LTUE or no?
Valor?
Was it no?
It was pre-Valor.
It was pre-Valor. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to remember.
It might have been Storymakers.
Let's see. I went to Storymakers while I had signed with Valor.
Oh.
Then it was probably LTUE before that.
Yeah, it could be. It was a long time ago.
It was a very long time ago.
I think neither one of us had our books out. I had a contract, but my book wasn't out yet.
You were with Widow, right?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. You had a contract, and I was probably just getting under contract, and it was before I'd met him. I met him. I signed with Valor a year before I met you. So.
Wow. So I've known her longer than you.
Yeah, I know.
No, actually.
I'm the other man.
No, I signed with Valor in February, and I met you in April.
Oh.
And then we were married a year after I signed with Valor.
Okay.
So.
About the same.
Roughly.
Now I'm all insecure.
That's funny.
She said, "Hey, David, what do you think about this guy? Should I go out with him?" And I was like, "Take it to the hole."
Yeah, you're the one of the very first author friends that Nolan met of mine.
Good deal.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay, so yeah, go ahead and read the quote.
Care about people's approval, and you will be their prisoner. Charlie Daniels. But I think he borrowed that from Lao Tzu.
Okay. Okay. I was like, but wait a second, that's not who I attributed it to. So why'd you pick that quote?
Big Charlie Daniels fan.
Yeah. How come?
Just his, fiddle playing prowess and reading of Chinese philosophy and the art of war moves me.
Mm-hmm.
I have a copy in the living room. Did you
I saw that. It was nice.
It's a nice copy, isn't it?
The color really contrasted with your whole entertainment system.
Our decoration, the red and the
red
black.
flowers, the white.
Yeah.
That was intentional.
We put it up there once we saw it. We're like, ooh, this will match our decor.
Now you guys just need a sword.
Yeah.
I've got one.
He's got... Yeah.
Well, where is it?
It's in the garage.
Okay.
It's not in the garage anymore. It's in the basement.
The basement's not doing any good. The sword needs to be seen and appreciated.
It's true.
Yes.
I'll put it in the front yard.
Just like that.
All right.
Anyway, okay, so care about people's approval and you will be their prisoner. How does that apply to being a writer?
We definitely want to be read. We definitely want to market and have our books sold. But ultimately, I am convinced you have to have that satisfaction within you of what you're creating, what you want to do, and being happy with it.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, you'll for sure burn out and not get anywhere. So ultimately, you got to be happy with what you're doing.
Yeah, I hear all those stories about the authors that, they they take the money, they write what it gets money, and then they just burn out and they're done. And I'm
Reverse harem.
so yes, seriously. So it gets them money for like a year, 2 years, and then it kills them for years, and then they start writing what they're passionate about. And anyway, I don't think I don't know. Money's nice. I'm now taking Nolan's side of things. Take the money and run.
Sell out. Take some money. I always promised myself, and this is since I was a teenager, that I would sell out at the first opportunity.
Oh, jeez, that's very comforting as a wife.
Keep holding out for that. It'll come.
Nobody's offered me. It's my regular salary, and that's it. I'm ready to sell.
All right, moving on to the tips, because your wife doesn't like hearing things like that. So we're still talking about book covers. This is actually the last time we'll be talking about book covers. Oh. But are you sad?
We talked about book covers.
Yeah, we talked about book covers while you were gone.
That's good, actually. So you guys are all warmed up then.
Yep.
Okay, so if you're struggling with deciding between multiple cover designs, consider holding polls. Which cover do you like better? I use pickfu.com. Have you heard of Pickfu?
Nope.
Okay, so pickfu.com is a site where you basically pay to get responses. And so what you do is you put your question out there and they will, it is usually about books and stuff. So it's like descriptions, book covers, things like that. Like, which book would you read based on these covers, And then you get responses in that way. And it's been very, very helpful in choosing titles, covers, descriptions, and other things book related. But if money's an issue, then run polls on social media. Last week I talked about the 3 separate groups, You haven't probably even heard that tip yet.
Maybe.
It was on Jurassic World, which goes live.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Considering it hasn't been aired, I have not heard it.
Anyway, so yeah, run polls on social media, in your newsletter. I love using my newsletter list. I don't like to rely on readers for feedback generally because they lead you astray really easily.
I'm going to quote you on that.
Okay.
Readers lead you astray.
So if you're asking them, like I had readers that got really, really attached. I don't know. Do you remember? You remember, obviously, my original covers for the Mosaic Chronicles. They were so mad at me for changing, but I'm like, guess what? My books sell now. I mean, they sold before because they found people who like cellos, but I don't have a cello on my cover anymore. And now I get many, many more downloads.
Too niche.
Yeah, it was too niche. Yep.
That, and I think with some of those people, it's just what they were used to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people just get used to something, and that's what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Plus, you want to sell to people who aren't necessarily your fans.
You want to sell to violin fans, oboe fans, tuba fans.
Okay, so all right. So not only are polls a great way to market your book, but if you have enough people voting, then they'll basically pick the best option. Especially if you have like the polls running in more than one place, you don't get the bandwagon jumpers.
Always a problem.
It is. It's a big problem. Okay, so if you only have a handful of people vote, it might not be enough to show a clear winner. So make sure you're getting a lot of people. And then ask for comments from your friends and your family and then from other authors in your genre. But make sure you take the comments with a grain of salt, especially the outliers. But if you start noticing trends across groups and across sections of people, then you pay attention to that. And then, like I said a little while ago, go in with the attitude of this potentially sucks, help me make it better, and you won't get upset if or when people say it does suck. Because likely, especially when you're starting out, it's going to likely suck unless
when you're making your own.
Yeah, if you're hiring a professional cover designer who's done it for a long time,
it should suck less to start with, or else you're not picking the right designer. Yeah.
Anyway, so that's the quote or the tip for. I always confuse those two for some reason. That's the tip for today. And let's see. I think that means we go into the movie now.
Yeah.
All right, Nolan, I'm going to have you start off. I usually do. So tell us a little bit about the characters.
James Bond, period. Right? Iconic.
M.
I know. Iconic character.
Yes.
You know his name.
You know his name.
Yeah.
And he's had many different people play him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's had different representations, different incarnations, but he's still James Bond.
Yeah. When did the first James Bond? It was in the 60s, 1962 or something like that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sean Connery.
Sean Connery and those horrible eyebrows.
What are you talking about?
Those expressive, manly eyebrows.
Oh my gosh, the eyebrows that were like this long. They went from hairline to hairline.
I'm fine with it.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I think he's more attractive as an older man, honestly. David and Nolan are attracted to him in his younger days. So
James Bond.
Did you see him when he was in Darby O'Gill?
Oh, I didn't know he was in that. Oh, I hate that movie.
What? I don't know if I can do this podcast.
Fine, if it's going to be that way, you might as well leave now. Just kidding. Heresy. Anyway, so yeah, James Bond, he's the iconic, he's the hero, he's the one who never changes, except in this one he does, but...
not necessarily.
Well, it's his hero start. It's a
reboot, and I like what they did with it.
It's a gritty reboot.
Yeah, it's a gritty reboot. I think arguably the most realistic interpretation of Bond, even for an over-the-top action movie.
Yeah.
They decided to reboot because the previous series had gotten too
Convoluted,
gimmicky and fantastical.
Yeah.
Like invisible
which
cars.
Are you talking about Pierce Brosnan's version? Okay.
Yeah, it got too far out of reality, I think. It wasn't very grounded, like that one guy with the diamonds in his face. That was like the last one they made.
I forgot about
North
that.
Korean, yeah, right? And like the giant like laser
I didn't
thing.
like that one.
That's why they decided, and then they didn't.
And I
renew
love
his
Bond,
contract.
and I didn't like that one.
Yeah, they decided not to renew Pierce Brosnan's contract. No offense to Pierce Brosnan, he did a fine job as being.
Well, according to trivia, the broccoli lady had been watching Daniel Craig for quite some time, and when they won the rights to it, she said, the studio wanted to offer Pierce Brosnan the part for the new reboot, and she said, no, we're doing Daniel Craig.
And they should have started over with him.
Yeah, with the reboot, you need a new actor.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
Daniel Craig's great, because I saw him in things before this. Like, he was in Tomb Raider
That's
with
right,
Angelina
he was.
Jolie,
I forgot
and he
about
was
that.
in another English gangster movie, Layer Cake. I love English gangster movies.
See, and I'm like a lot of my women friends, they were like, he's, James Bond's supposed to have dark hair. And I'm like, I thought Daniel Craig was the most attractive one so far. Though I did have a crush on Pierce Brosnan, but not anymore.
Yeah, so James Bond, gritty reboot, and that worked well. But he still has a lot of the characteristics that, the ladies' man, super competent at everything. But in this one, he actually gets his butt kicked before he wins, instead of just running around knocking people out with one punch.
Yeah.
He continually gets his butt kicked in this one.
He does.
Like, the bad guys aren't stormtroopers.
Yeah, and I think that's part of what I'm saying makes it a little more realistic.
Yeah. Like, he takes on like one guy and it's hard.
Yeah.
Like the fight scenes last a while.
Yeah, like in the stairwell, she's there too. Of course, she's just trying to run and get away.
That's an interesting complication.
Yeah, it is.
Well, she helps. She
does help.
knocked
And
the gun out
he
of his
knocks the first guy down pretty quickly. So he's fighting against the one guy pretty much the whole time. The guy had a machete.
Yeah.
I want a machete. My own. Machete.
Fine. Anyway, yeah. So he's the viewpoint character, right?
Yeah.
Does he have an arc? Would you say?
He kind of does. He starts off as a brand new. He's not. She's like, M's like, we shouldn't have given you. I knew we shouldn't have promoted you.
Which leads into the first scene.
Yeah. So he's got like. He does have a slight arc because, he does learn a little bit. I think, okay, so I'll just give it right now. The romance, I put meh by it because I don't really care about either woman. But it's character development for Bond. So it's basically him trying for normal and it doesn't work. And so he never goes back to it again because she's single,
Perfect. Not his type.
Not his type.
Right.
Yep.
And then we have M, his boss.
Yeah.
Who's what do I want to say?
The romance quoted there is pretty low between him and him.
I don't know. I thought there was
Oh, David.
quite a bit of tension. He breaks into her house.
He's sitting there lounging in her furniture.
Wait a second. M is married. So maybe
you're right.
she is his type.
So the guy who was laying in the bed, by the way, was one of their crewmen. He wasn't an actual actor.
You in the bed. Nice.
I thought that was funny.
Yes. And then Vesper, the romantic foil, I guess.
Vesper, the romantic.
Lind, the girl.
Vesper Lind.
The horse girl. Is that who you're talking about? Oh, no,
No.
Vesper's the spy chick, whatever. The accountant.
The accountant.
Yes. Sorry. I don't follow names. I don't follow names. If it's one of my favorite movies, I know all the names.
And then the bad guy, Le Chiffre.
Le Chiffre.
Yes.
Yeah.
As played by
bleeding
Mads
eye.
Mikkelsen.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Bond, he's basically, his personality is established from the very, very beginning. He's cool, he's calm, collected from the start. Like when he was like, ow.
But is he? I mean, let's
They
talk about.
shoot him with the chip, and he goes, ow. And that's all he does. And then when he gets attacked at the airport by security, he doesn't even try to explain to them who he is. You know, he's just, okay, fine, you know.
Oh, and he gives the grin because he knows that guy's going to blow himself up.
Yeah.
So he's like, sucker.
Yeah, pretty much. But he does fumble a lot. I mean, he's not perfect. He's not.
No, he's not. So let's talk about the opening scene, though.
Yeah.
Like, this is the first time we see him at all.
And you have the same note on yours that I have on mine.
Yeah.
Black and white.
Yep.
Why?
It's when he is still in a black and white world because he's not seeing color yet. He's very black and white. I'm doing my job. That's it. And I would say this is the most deep cinematic effort of the movie because it's not a deep cinematic movie, but it's just this. Here's where he's at in his life, black and white. He wants to become a 00. Mm-hmm. And we still see that little bit of humor of he tells the guy, I know where you keep your gun.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was funny.
We don't know each other very well, or we didn't get the opportunity to know each other very well. He's like, I know where you keep your gun. That's all he needs to know about him, right?
Yeah.
And he's there to kill him. I guess that's the two. But it does make it feel more gritty. I mean, it's a pretty knockdown, drag out fight. I mean, they're in a bathroom, breaking walls and fixtures, and he drowns the guy in a sink.
Yeah.
And well, sort of, and then he's not dead, and then he shoots him. But he's willing to like go that gritty and that like bare knuckle.
I don't know. I'm not sure. Wasn't a huge fan of black and white because black and white usually means it happened in the past, like way in the past, you know. But I do like your interpretation of it, like that. Actually, I'm like, okay, well, all right, I can accept that. You know, that works for it.
And as soon as he becomes a 00 agent,
Then it's in
everything's
color.
in color.
Yeah.
The other aspect of it I like is I have serious origin fatigue.
Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Batman.
And I like this, that it's a reboot, but they are just giving us the bare bones origin. Here it is beginning.
Yeah. It
Which
feels
they've actually
like
never done really in the other James Bond movies. They don't really show him becoming a 00 agent.
Yeah, and the other aspect of is when they did in the old series had him meet up with Vesper Lynd, they got married, and that was in the middle of the series, or roughly, because it was in between Connery and Roger Moore.
That one guy that did that one movie.
Yeah, George Lazenby. I actually met him at Tree City Comic Con.
Oh, that's nice.
In Her Majesty's Secret Service, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, okay.
I'm a Bond fan. I thought it was cool, even if that's the only movie I've watched him in.
And they get together and she dies in that movie like right away. Well, at the end.
No, at the very end.
At the
It's
very end. But I mean, like,
they get married, and Blofeld kills her at the very end, and that's one reason Bond's like, that's it.
I'm done. I haven't even seen that movie, and I pegged that from this one.
We still kind of get that with this one.
Yeah, we do. That was my interpretation. I was like, he's done. I mean,
Yeah.
girls, as she said, towards the beginning of their relationship, girls are just something he plays with and he's done with.
But now he really has that attitude.
There was a chance before, but it's gone. Okay, foreshadowing.
Yeah.
So there is 2 scenes where a girl walks in front of a poker match before the big scene with Vesper.
Yeah.
I just think it's funny that she flips it on him.
Yeah.
So you see
So
that.
explain that
Well,
so they know what you're talking about.
he asks her to walk in looking hot to distract everyone while
Walk
they're
in
playing.
where the enemy can see her.
Yeah, and twice Lashif, I think it was, does that with his girl before the scene
Where she comes in.
where she comes in, but she doesn't do what he says.
She does it so that he will notice her.
Yep. Because that's what's important to her, which tells us something about her character.
Yeah.
She didn't care as much about the mission because he's like, what about the mission? And she's like, oh, what? I have your attention. That's all I really wanted. So there you go.
Yeah. Any foreshadowing comments on your...
I was intrigued that they had the Spectre agent, Mr. White, right in the beginning with the villains. When you you see Mr. White before you even see Lashif. And I thought that was intriguing because normally that guy is always in the background just watching. I mean, he has an important part towards the end.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was intriguing that
He had to get his leg.
he's a
shot.
specter
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
looming in the background,
True, yeah.
which is important for further on in the series.
Yeah.
Right, because I mean, he also introduces you to like the bigger bad guys without directly interfering.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I just introduce people. I'm a fixer. I'm not actually in this. And that lets you know that, Lashif's a bad guy, but he got introduced by somebody else who has those connections. So he connects people to people that are really scary. So, like, what else has he got going on?
Well, that, and there's a technique that I love that was in Fellowship of the Ring. The scary orcs. What are they afraid of? The
bigger thing,
the bigger bad thing. And when Mr. White shows back up, Lashif's like, "Oh, hey, you'll get me." He's afraid of him.
Yeah.
So I like that. What are scary guys afraid of?
Yeah.
Right. And Star Wars. Like Darth Vader kills a bunch of people, and he's like, "Oh, when the Emperor gets here," he's like, "The Emperor's coming." He's like, "Yeah, you don't even want to know what happens when he gets here."
Yeah.
But yeah, I bow down to him when he shows up, so you don't even want to mess with that.
Yeah.
Same thing. It's very good because that.
And like Harry Potter with Professor Quirrell and then Voldemort, because you're so scared of Professor Quirrell. Just kidding.
I was.
No. But it's good to thread that in. I mean, if you're going to have a series,
if you're going to have a bigger,
we talked about the problems with sequels.
Mm-hmm.
You got to thread things in early if you plan on having it. One of the reasons why sequels bomb is because they make a one-off movie. They didn't plan for a sequel. They tie off everyone's character arcs. They have nowhere to go, so they have to like invent new ones, and those don't feel like the character because it's this whole other arc.
Yep.
And then, they don't thread the bad guys through, so it doesn't build tension because you're not building off, the first movie's bad guy.
Yep.
None of that stuff. This is good.
Okay, so let's see. Any comments on dialogue? We want to skip that.
Good dialogue.
Yeah. Dialogue didn't catch my attention, so that means it's good dialogue.
There's some really good lines. Like M and Bond have some really good banter, and him and Bond and Vesper have some good banter as well. They're better than him in a lot of cases at bantering. Like they beat him at the word games. It's not his strong suit, and he's like a bull in a china shop half the time. I mean, he just he doesn't care. He busts into an embassy, shoots a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Right. He's that guy. He's a bull in a china shop. She says, you're a loose cannon. You're dangerous.
But he's still got the one-liners for the bad guys.
But he still does have a good one-liners. That is true. But he can't really do the back and forth with the ladies. I guess him failing against M. And then against Vespers, they just got his number. They've got him pretty well figured out.
Let's see. Antagonist, protagonist. There's several antagonists. I like stories like that. The complexity. You are chasing these guys, and then you find out that there's more beyond that. I like that sort of complexity in stories.
Yeah,
quite a bit.
Right, because he chases down the bomb maker, and then that leads him to the guy that was going to blow up the airplane.
Yeah.
And those are all just little fish.
Exactly.
On the way.
Leading. Yeah, and that was a lot of enjoyment for me.
And then he has those two. It's like, okay, who coordinated that? And then he gets to the bigger fish, and then the sheep shows up, but he also has antagonistic relationships with Vesper and with M. I mean, they're on his side, but they often work against him. They say, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, he's not exactly the protagonist. There's not really a true protagonist-antagonist because he is pretty antagonistic with almost all the characters in all. I mean, that's James Bond. He's a solo person,
Right, exactly. He's not a team player.
No. He's not. Let's see, what was the inciting incident?
I had a hard time.
I did too, actually.
Yeah,
David?
you can see from my notes I have nothing.
I have an arrow saying that means to me, I always do an arrow there that means write it out, and I didn't.
I guess what it is when Lashif loses his money.
Yeah, and that's directly caused by Bond.
Right.
And Bond's on his trail. So I was thinking about it. I'm like, what would I say is the inciting incident in that? If we're not saying that this is Bond's story, where he becomes a 007, if we're saying this particular overall mission arc, I guess would be when Lashif takes the Ugandan money to invest in.
Okay, yeah.
And, that's... The biggest thing that's a hook for this is the character of Bond himself. It's not even really the plot. That's how I see it. It's not the plot, it's more character.
Right. I mean, we want to see Bond doing Bond things.
Yeah. And so Bond gets thrown in the middle of the things that he affects this, that affects that, butterfly effect. But when it comes to one particular inciting incident, it's almost hard to say what is it.
Yeah, because he's going after the bomb maker first thing. Right. I mean, he's just sent on that mission just because that's what he was assigned, I guess.
Yeah.
Le Chiffre is like a whole. It takes a while to get there because that guy has made bombs for people that are connected. It's like really distant.
Yeah.
Because like the bomb maker has worked for other people before, and that guy has arranged for bomb makers for Le Chiffre in the past.
But I mean, that was in Madagascar,
right,
which is actually a long way from where Le Chiffre was getting money from the Ugandans. And, we might have a tendency to think, well, it's Africa. But those are actually really far apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then he's in Nassau to meet the other guy that's arranging the bombs, who is still just a go-between. So I would say it was a convoluted inciting incident.
Yeah.
Right.
Not that it doesn't work for an overall story, but the hook is the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not as cut and dry. And it's an investigation, so it can't be cut and dry or else it would be not interesting. I mean, he's got to go down some, I don't want to say, he doesn't really go down any blind alleys, but he goes down some very oblique.
Yeah, and it's different because there's been other Bond movies that had a particular inciting incident. The bad guys steal the space shuttle. This is definitely more convoluted.
See, the good thing about this is, James, we want him. I mean, his character, he has to prove to us in this movie his orgy.
I think he does that.
His origination story. We need to know that he is able to reason through things. So he figures things out that most people would not be able to because he's educated in this type of stuff. He's trained, and he's just Bond. So like when he figures out that the guy went through the security door at the airport, like sorts of things like that other people wouldn't be able to figure out. Like Bond, we see him throughout all of this. Blind alley, but he's still figuring out his way through those,
He's good at tradecraft.
Yeah.
When that, like at the very first colored scene he's in, where the guy's like touching his ear and he's like, don't
touch your ear. Yeah.
Just a simple thing, but he's like, don't be obvious, we're here to...
Because that's what gives the guy away.
Exactly.
I mean, he's like touching his ear and staring at the guy and pulls a gun out.
Yeah, don't let them catch you looking at them or trailing them. I mean, those are so, his
he has common sense. He has a gift.
Yeah. And they still catch him sometimes, like the guy in the airport sees him following.
Yeah.
So he's not perfect, but he knows to try to hide. I mean, yeah.
All right, continuity and pacing. I'm going to say boring from the torture scene all the way until M calls him asking where the money ended up.
So the whole third act.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
This is no offense. This is my least favorite James Bond movie ever made.
Wow.
Really?
That's harsh.
Yes.
Wow.
It's quite long.
It is very long. Okay, so the torture scene, I hate torture scenes. The torture scene has no point to it. He doesn't learn anything. We don't learn anything. He's just there to get tortured until Le Chiffre dies. Break. We already know he won't break from earlier stuff, It's just rehashing what
it's a reboot.
Yeah.
But it's his balls.
Well.
Anyway.
Every guy that saw that scene for the first time went,
oh, I'm right there with you. I have 5 brothers. Like, to me, it's just torture for the viewers, and it doesn't do anything new for us.
Right? Or the very first time I saw the movie, I was like, somebody's busting in. They're not going to get him. Oh,
they do.
They got him.
Anyway, so I'm like, to me, it was slow at times. Like the movie, I felt like they could have trimmed. She's going to betray him. And it felt like it was the end of the movie. So the first time I watched it, I was like, why are we still watching this movie? Why are we still watching this movie? I'm like, cut out the boring stuff where they're like lovey-dovey and staring at each other.
Wow, that's so weird coming from you.
It's a thriller movie, and they have a huge interlude from the action and from the intrigue and the suspense.
And when it comes to comparing it to the old Vesperlind and Bond romance where they actually got married, they were really cutting to the chase with this one, trying to say, see, they care about each other. This means something to him. This is going to impact him big time.
Okay.
This is why he's never going to be committed to one woman again, because he tried once and it failed. And I think they were just trying to make sure they could squeeze that in and say, hey, this is how it is. This is why she meant a lot to him, and now he'll never care about anybody as much again.
And I think they could have done that. I mean, he did tell her he loved her, before he got tortured. But I mean, they could have weaved all of that in and then just not made me feel like I'm like watching my clock. Like, why are we still watching this movie? Why aren't we fighting? And why are you looking at me like that?
That's what I say, like every romance movie we watch.
Yeah, but the romance, that's the point of the movie. And James Bond is not the point. I mean, it teaches us something about him, but they had nothing going on for like 20 minutes.
They did it a lot.
Oh my gosh.
There's something going
those
on.
lamps fell.
Oh my gosh. Whatever.
There's something going on.
Obviously, I'm in the minority here, and that's okay. There was a lot about this movie that I did like. I mean, it's a Bond movie, right? My favorite Daniel Craig one is Skyfall, though, and that one was just super well done to me.
Yeah, I thought Skyfall was well made.
Plus, they have the car again with the missiles in it.
Yes.
Very old school.
Anyway, so conflicts. I know you had comments on conflicts, didn't you, Nolan?
I had to try fail with the gambling.
Yeah.
So he tries to win.
That's what I had. Poker try fail.
Yeah.
No, that's really good. I mean, I like that because you feel like he's fake losing, but he's actually losing.
And he actually loses.
Yeah.
And he actually is out of the game.
Yep.
Until
So what's his face?
And she says,
Felix.
Yeah, he's out of the game. She says, no more money.
Yep.
And then it's not until Felix Leiter comes in and
the
bails
thing
him
is,
out.
he was right there ready to attack Lashif with a knife.
Right.
Yeah.
Until
Rather
Felix
than-
says, whoa.
We have another way.
Maybe not kill the guy in the middle of the hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, that was awesome. I actually enjoyed the gambling scenes because it's intrigued that you see them playing off of each other and they know, they know who each other is and they know why each other is there. So it was a lot of fun to watch those scenes.
Yep, and there's still a game outside the game, like with the poison, and then like, him trying to use her to distract people, and
And then the bad guys coming to get Lashif because he hasn't paid him back yet. And Bond ends up being the one taking care of him.
Right.
Yeah.
He accidentally saves the sheep from...
And then on top of that, I would say that PTSD moment is what helps bring Vesper romantically with him.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
Good point,
that's their pivotal bonding scene.
Yeah, because if you want to say, well, that's not rational, well, a lot of the time love's not rational. And I would say having this PTSD moment where she's freaking out about it, I think makes as much sense as anything for saying, okay, she disliked him, she was antagonistic to him, saying she didn't like him.
Mm-hmm.
But she was
even though she still did. But that kind of helped push things over the edge if you want to say, oh, that's not rational. Well, love's not rational.
Tell me about it.
You didn't
You never told him that?
fill out the paperwork that I gave you?
Oh,
The pros and cons.
it's nice
column?
being the one to say things that make you pause first instead of the other way around.
I'm not sure what you mean.
Whatever. Okay, comedy, tone, mood, colors, and then things we liked and worked for us.
Oh, are we going down? We don't go in actual
13, 14.
numerical
No,
order?
I don't, actually. I've never even noticed that, but you're right, I don't go in numerical order. Not in this
I was
page.
waiting to go in numerical order. All right, comedy tone. I love the Bond one-liners. I love the throwing a knife at a guy and saying stick around type of things.
Yeah, it's fun.
And maybe that's me.
No, it's fun.
But it appeals, I think, to the action.
Commando. Okay.
Yeah.
Got the reference. Good.
Well, wait, maybe it was in Predator, too. I don't
Maybe.
know.
Okay.
I didn't
It was in
catch that
Predator.
reference.
It was Predator.
Predator?
It was
Okay.
Predator.
No, I agree with you. I like his, especially the way he delivers things,
Yeah.
He's
But
just-
even Schwarzenegger, I would say, still took that from Connery starting it.
Yes. Yeah, classic hero one-liners. I mean, it's a cross-action genre.
But I really think, Bond, Connery's Bond, I think started that.
Oh, yeah, it's elementary.
Yeah.
When they had the diamonds and the dead
Yeah.
guys behind.
Yes, I remember
So,
that.
he uses them all the time, like, no matter, not even just for, like, engaging with a villain, but
Yeah.
he just drops those sorts of comments all the time. Excellent.
I'm still stuck up on me not going numerical. Like, I do it on the first page. I don't know why.
The comedy tone, mood, and colors. One thing I like about Bond movies is they go out of their way to show you how exotic and glamorous everything is, and there's all those great scenes at Lake Como.
Yeah, they travel quite a bit.
And that's something they do with
experience the
almost all of them. Is
cultures.
you go to some glamorous location or some horribly destitute, poverty-stricken location.
And they do both.
But it's something exotic.
Yeah.
And they flip between them. It's a big contrast because
Yeah.
like they're in Uganda and then they're in like Montenegro and maybe not just right
Bahamas.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
Yeah. And Bond can survive anywhere.
And there's just as much evil stuff going on
Yeah.
in both places.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't matter where you are. There's a reason for Bond to be there.
Yeah.
even though he doesn't go to Uganda. But he does go to Madagascar, and there's that pit fight with the snake and the mongoose. Was that what it was? I don't remember.
I don't remember.
It was a cobra and a mongoose.
Okay. Yeah. Not glamorous.
So I have a comment on research, and we can go to the things we liked and didn't like for us at the end of this page, just so because I see you looking at your.
You want to go down, or do you want to go back up?
Yeah, and then we'll do things we liked and didn't work for us.
So are we going to 10?
Yeah,
15?
we're going to 10.
All right, 10. Propane.
We both had this. Yeah, where you can't shoot a propane tank and it won't
have it. Yeah.
Certainly not with a pistol.
Yep. And then they needed to research asthma inhalers.
Oh yeah.
You inhale and you hold your breath. And Lashif would go right away. And I'm like, there goes all your medication.
Well, that and Bond and Mathis go and put a tracking device in his thing. And I'm like, I don't think there's room.
Right, between the cartridge.
To just slip in a big tracking chip.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah.
And he would notice if they did something. I mean, that device.
Oh, yeah. His henchmen were right there. He doesn't just leave that out for someone to tamper with, especially when you're a guy that poisons people.
Yeah. Right. And all, I mean, he needs that. He would not, that would be like, this is lifeline, and they know, like, people who have to use those things, they know that thing.
Wait, unless it's a tell.
Oh, geez.
Oh, heaven's sakes. That didn't work for
because
us.
That's going to our next show and tell.
Yes. Go ahead. Oh, well, I have plausible and implausible first. Okay, so security guards leaving the security room as long as they did. Which scene was that? When he wrecks
when he's in the Bahamas.
In the valet, yeah.
Okay. If they had to run to the far side of the parking lot.
Yeah, but I've worked in security rooms and you always have one person in that room. It doesn't matter how big the emergency is.
It was a slow day.
Apparently. And then he was just in there like... Okay, so...
My thought was the most implausible thing is that he's able to instantly find the video clip that he needs to find out.
Yes.
I was like,
he found that in no time flat.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, he did have the time, but still, there's like 90 cameras at that place. And you have to watch every video.
Yeah, was that his phone call? Yep, that was that phone call. Yep.
Yeah, and then the next thing I noticed, like killing the French guy, stabbing them in the, what were they, like a disco or the...
Oh, yeah.
And nobody knows them... The body world. Nobody notices them struggling.
It's a body world. People are looking at other stuff.
Yeah, but nobody noticed them struggling, didn't notice them stabbing him, none of that. And then, of course, the guy dies silently. He just...
I liked the silent knife fight in a crowd. I thought that was
I'm fine with it, but they were like, the knife, like, just way too visible.
Yeah, they should have done it in like a corner maybe or something like that.
Or close together because...
Yeah. Where they actually try to block people from seeing the knife so they can handle their business.
Because I agree. I think that's kind of fun, and he just puts the guy down on the ground. It's interesting.
I mean, normally it's, like all the other ones are knockdown, drag out fights, and now he's trying to be quiet in a crowd.
Yeah.
I like the contrast, but yeah, I would have handled it a little differently. But then, hey, Bond guys, what's up? We can talk. I'll help you make your movies better for a fee.
For a fee? How big of a fee?
They're going to have to throw some numbers at me. 6 figures at least.
At least? I'd say 7.
No, I'm not a star. I'm just a creative consultant. Don't make that much.
We have a podcast.
I have a reach of literally dozens of people. That's dozens of ticket sales.
If that includes your company with Nicholas, then you have more than dozens.
That's true. Hundreds. 100.
People that don't subscribe?
No, we have
just listen.
We have 74 listeners. You can't tell how many subscribers you have.
When you said 74, I thought that meant subscribers.
Well, that's how many listens you have a week. So you just assume that means how many subscribers you have.
Oh,
because they don't tell you that stuff. It's really hard to know.
Well, didn't I skew it because I caught up on all the episodes last week?
I don't think so. Because
okay.
Well, because my mother-in-law caught up on all the episodes like a couple weeks before that or 3 weeks before that or something. So there's somebody always catching up on all of them.
So it didn't register 10. Okay.
No, not really. I mean, we do have a jump, but then when somebody new finds the podcast, they generally go and listen to a whole bunch of them anyway. So
that's always happening. Like a couple people a week find you, and then they binge listen. So
well, I think you guys getting as many as you've got done now. You're over the hump compared to most people that start and quit.
Yeah.
Well, we haven't quit yet, so
good on you guys. Good on you guys.
Okay, so all right, and this is a common sense thing: plausible, implausible. We've got all of these people fighting in the airport. We've got a bomb threat. We've got ambulance, and they're still having planes land.
Yeah.
the tower would not let a plane land while there's a bomb threat, and this guy's driving this propane or fuel tank thing all over. There's no way the tower would let that happen.
There's quite a few other places to land farther out.
And okay, because you get a light dusting of snow
around, so maybe they said, that other lane's clear. Oh, sorry, it's not now.
But see, like a light dusting of snow, and they don't let you take off or they don't let you land. You know, I mean, some airports they're super wussy, and so I mean, with a potential terrorist attack, all the planes would stay up in the sky. You know,
well, they certainly would have shut the airport down
or send them to a nearby airport. You know.
Yeah, I mean. They would have started, locking. They would have been.
Well, I did like that the cops instantly grabbed him and started beating on him.
Yeah,
because he's not getting the slightest benefit of the doubt.
No, that was pretty awesome.
I mean, he did drive. He was the driver of a leaky fuel truck driving straight at an airplane.
And they didn't see the other guy falling out. You know,
even if they did, I would assume everyone's guilty until you can sort it out later.
Yeah, punch first, then talk later.
Arrest first.
Yeah, I feel they just wanted to get their hits in anyway. So
yeah.
They're like, I've had a bad week at work. Well. All right, so David, tell us about the nail gun.
I've used a nail gun quite a few times. I've actually been shot with a nail gun through the big toe and stuck to a roof. And then I had to take a Sawzall and cut myself free.
Oh my gosh, that is awful. Do you have a scar from it?
No, because I went and I put a poultice on it of comfrey. It's this comfrey powder, and I did it, and it healed up like crazy fast. Like within a week, it healed up, and now there's just a line on my
It didn't
toenail.
get your bone or anything?
I think it must have grazed right next to the big bone. I should have a scar, but I don't have a scar. But there's like a line on my big toe's nail.
So explain the nail gun.
They're not automatic. You can't just hold a nail gun.
They're not even
that's not plugged
automatic.
into an air hose and just go. And in my experience from having nail gun wars with friends on the job, once you're like more than 5 feet away from a guy, that nail starts to spiral. You'll never stick it in.
It doesn't go straight.
It doesn't go straight because
it's not designed to go straight.
It's not designed to go straight. It won't stick in a guy. It'll hit him and he'll go ouch and it'll fall off.
Yeah.
But my point is, if it's not plugged into an air hose, it's not going to shoot, and it's sure not going to be automatic.
And they have the safety guards, you know. I mean, the thing in the front that you have to push in before you pull the trigger.
You could reach your hand up. What we would do is we'd reach up and hold the safety back and pull the trigger, but it would only shoot as fast as you could pull the trigger. So boom, 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 boom. But even then, you got to be plugged into an air hose.
Yeah, with a compressor on the other end.
With a compressor.
Because just the air hose.
Yeah, you can't just pick up a nail gun and shoot anybody, and it won't go any distance. I think I've been hit with a nail from like 2 or 3 feet away, and it won't stick in you. Jeez. Just nice little
That's comforting,
trivia
actually.
there.
Yeah.
We don't endorse nail gun fights on this podcast.
Let's see. I have something in here noteworthy. James Bond is at this really nice place, and Nolan turns to me and says, "Why don't you ever take me someplace? Places nice, anywhere nice." And I was like, "Excuse me? It's supposed to be the other way around."
It's not like my coronation comments.
Oh yes, your coronation comments.
My wife has taken me to James Bond worthy exotic locales.
You know, if my husband would give me permission, we would have done it.
You have
permission?
You have
spend
my
money
permission. To take me somewhere, you always have permission to get me stuff or take me places.
I'm
that
like,
are awesome.
let's go on a cruise to Alaska. Let's go to Moab. Let's go to St. George.
Okay.
I can't get work off.
That's not the same thing. It's hard to be spontaneous sometimes.
It is, especially when you have kids.
I'm in charge
It's hard
of
to
stuff.
arrange for babysitting.
Sorry for all the people that die when I don't go to work.
All right, so David, go ahead and give us your things you liked and worked for you, and things you didn't like and didn't work for you. And Nolan, do you have any of those?
I can come up with some or talk about. There's
the things I like. Overall, I really like the pacing because one scene moves to the next, and
all the way until he gets tortured, and then
pretty much. And so I really liked overall the pacing throughout most all of the movie.
I agree with that. Like, there's action that leads to action that leads to suspense and tension and action, and that's the way James Bond movies should be.
And the other one is there's some moments where I really like where stuff happens where you just don't expect it. Yeah. When Lashif goes into his own room and you could see his girlfriend out on the balcony and he goes to talk to her, you don't know that he's going to get jumped by the Ugandan warlords that he stiffed.
Yeah, nope. That was
But
good.
it
Made
makes
me
perfect
jump.
sense that they would be there. So it's surprising that they're
Who
there.
expects Ugandan warlords when you're at the World Poker Championship in Montenegro?
But it's
That's
not random,
unexpected.
though. I mean, they have a reason to be there. It feels,
They do. But at the same time, I liked it because
it's not
I'm
like
not thinking about them, but then
Right.
they show up.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yep.
So it's not like a Deus Ex Machina where it's just like completely random.
Yeah,
action happens.
it's not Deus Ex Machina, and it was a good surprise. It made perfect
You're
sense.
like, oh yeah, those guys.
But I
Oh,
didn't
crap.
see it coming. So I really enjoy the surprises when you don't see it coming.
Yep.
Yeah,
I agree with that.
Things I didn't like were just the little details like the propane tanks and reloading your gun. And we already mentioned the nail gun, but for me it's kind of small details that I think most people that don't have any experience with firearms probably wouldn't even notice. I mean, how many people can say they've shot a propane tank and realize that they don't blow up? Well, I have, but most people haven't.
Let's see. Climax, epilogue, and resolution. I wrote meh. Because that's where everything fell apart for me.
This movie does suffer from a little bit of Lord of the Rings ending.
It has a drawn out ending, and the movie is front heavy. Like there's a lot going on until the torture scene, and then it just kind of tapers. There's some really good. I love it when M's like, well, too bad the lion's gone cold. Our trail's gone cold, and then James, of course, does his thing, and he goes off and figures out where the money went. But
Vesper left him the message of who her contact was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so he knows to go after Mr. White, and I have to say that I love how the next movie picks up
Right at
immediately from this
Yes.
one. So for me, in my head, it's like I almost have to remember that this one stops and the other one begins.
Yeah, and I like that. I like the way the Mr. White, he's like, the way he shoots him, he just stands over him, and oops.
While he's crawling in the dirt, he's just.
I'm like, why is he trying to get away? The guy knows where he is.
Yeah, and the thing is, one of the surprises for someone that had no idea, he's not going to rescue the girl. She dies.
Yeah.
So that's different than all the other ones in general, where he always has the girl and he's making out in the life draft with her at the end.
Right.
It's true.
It's almost always a life draft.
It's where he always gets the girl at the end. It's the reward is the most base way to think of it, is he gets the reward of the girl. That's why my wife hates James Bond movies, because she's like, it's taking away that the woman is a person. She's just an object, and so she hates
That's James Bond.
Yeah, so,
But
my wife hates James Bond movies. I love them, but this one's different because she dies.
Yeah.
That makes it different. I think the reason the ending dragged is because they wanted to show that he loved her. Then they wanted to show, okay, this is why he's going to be the way he is.
Yeah.
The rest of the series. So that's something that made sense to me.
Well, they could have taken all that slow scene and then interspersed it throughout the whole entire movie. Like, have him get tortured at the beginning. Just kidding. And then have him be in a hospital bed every 15 minutes.
There's definitely something to be said for mixing up your chronology in a story. I remember when I was a kid and we were doing a study of the New Testament, and I remember we got up to Revelation, and one of the ways that people said, I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, and our teacher was saying, well, it was popular then to tell a story in the Middle East in a non-chronological way. And to me, I was thinking when I was I'm 12 years old, I'm like, that's crazy. Why wouldn't you want it linear? I'll understand it if it's linear. And then I get a little bit older and I go and I watch a movie like Pulp Fiction, where it's jumping all over the place. I take it you guys have seen that. I take it Nolan's seen that. It's jumping all over the place. It's very entertaining. And I'm like, oh, now I get it, why that might have been a popular way to tell a story in ancient times. And that makes more sense. And I'm like, Bond movies are always linear, but I mean, that's a way that you could have changed it up.
Yeah.
And for when it comes to writing a novel, as long as you're not going to lose your person, I think you can do that as long as you've got the talent to make sure people aren't getting lost between a flashback. You do a flashback right. You don't do a stupid dream sequence.
Alan!
We bring that up
all the time.
Frequently. Stupid dream sequences.
No, he knows he's listened to the episodes.
So
it's a pet peeve of ours.
Yeah. So I don't think a story has to be linear. I mean,
No.
if you can tell it right.
My favorite are linear,
and
though.
maybe if Casino Royale wasn't linear, maybe you could have liked it more if it would have done it.
It's possible. I prefer linear, though.
I generally write linear myself, but I can appreciate somebody else's.
If they can do it well.
Yeah.
Which is very difficult to pull it off and make it feel like it was necessary for the story. All right, are we ready for trivia? Unless you have miscellaneous comments.
We save our 3 takeaways for the very end after
trivia.
The technical aspects, soundtrack. I always like the theme they use. They always work in the theme from the beginning. Well, I'm not even talking about that James Bond thing. I'm talking about the "You Know My Name" theme.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And they always do that in all the Bond movies. I like that. When it comes to the angles and everything, they're good. Like that ending where Mr. White's on the ground, he's standing over him. That's good. But at the same time, this isn't a cinematic masterpiece where it's wow, look at this shot, look at that. There's some movies where you can really appreciate how you're seeing the perspectives. This isn't one of those movies.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But I like it for what it is.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the camera work in it.
Yes.
Okay, you guys okay with me reading trivia?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, so this is the first James Bond film approved by Chinese censors.
Oh.
All other films in the franchise were available in China only as illegal bootlegs.
So many of the villains were Chinese. Well, maybe Dr. No.
Dr. No started that trend, yeah.
As of 2007, this was the highest grossing movie of the Bond official film franchise, and then Skyfall passed it. Let's see. Okay, so in the Bahamas, the construction site, it was an abandoned hotel that's been filmed in many Bond movies. So like Thunderball, The Spy Who Loved Me, and they never finished it. It was a hotel that they were building, and then they never finished it. And James Bond
for like 50 years.
Yeah, for a very long time. It's now part of a military base. Okay, so this is the first film in the franchise to show Bond as a rookie. MI6, as we talked about, in all the other films he'd been a spy already. Let's see. Oh, and this one was interesting. So Ian Fleming said that when he was writing Casino Royale, he would write 2,000 words a day, and it took him 3 hours to write 2,000 words. And he'd do it every morning. He said it dutifully produced itself. And this is the way a lot of authors do it, but he wrote nothing and made no corrections until the book was finished. And he said he might have despaired if he'd looked back at what he'd written. And I'm like, that's the way a lot of authors do it. They start and then they don't edit until they finish it. But I'm like, 2,000 words in 3 hours? He had a typewriter. Why couldn't he have gone faster than that?
He had a typewriter.
Yeah,
he thought a lot about what
with
he
a
was
typewriter. I feel like that's a good pace.
Man.
But then I generally I think I'm doing good if I'm doing 1,000 an hour.
1,000 an hour is pretty decent, isn't it? I don't remember.
For me, that makes me feel like I'm doing good.
I don't remember how fast I typed.
I wouldn't say I'm crazy fast.
Yeah.
Some people would, but I wouldn't.
Let's see. So the Grand Canal, when they're on the yacht, they're just hanging around in Venice. That was the first time Venice authorities had given permission for a non-commercial yacht to be on that. What's it called? The Spirit 54 is what it's called. Oh no, that's the yacht. Anyway, so the Grand Canal between the Academia and the Rialto bridges. So the last time that sort of a yacht had been approved there was centuries ago. And so I don't know why they gave this one, James Bond such
money.
James Bond.
Yeah.
Prestige. Kick their butts if they said no.
And this is crazy to me. The only CGI in the film is when the building's sinking. So when they're up on those cranes and everything, he says they used wires and they erased out the wires, and that was the only other CGI they did. Isn't that crazy? I wouldn't be able to do it, the jumping around.
Well, no, that's why they pay someone.
That's why they paid Daniel Craig, because he did a lot of the stunts himself. Let's see.
That's one reason why he says he's getting too old. Yes. Now.
They considered Pierce Brosnan, but having him return for a fifth engagement in James Bond, they would have had to pay him $30 million.
You don't reboot with the same guy.
Yeah, you can't reboot. I agree.
Yeah, so you guys know that the semi-naked girls out of the opening credits, they decided not to do that because James Bond hadn't been established as his character until the end of the movie. So I thought that was cool because they did it for a reason,
Yeah, that's why in Quantum of Solace we get the ladies of oil.
Ugh,
It's kind of creepy.
It is. I agree. Let's see. In one afternoon shooting, 3 Aston Martin DBS cars valued at $300,000 each were destroyed. Nolan. He's sobbing here. This one's insane. Daniel Craig lost his 2 front teeth while filming a fight scene in Prague. So they had to fly in his dentist.
That's the opening fight scene.
Yeah. Yeah, so he actually lost his dentist, had to come in and give him new teeth.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah, that's pretty big. Dave is like, that's nothing. I got dentures already.
No, this tooth is broken in half and fake.
Oh, that's cool.
You can probably see it. It's
Now that you've pointed out, but I wouldn't have noticed. But that's cool.
Yeah, I broke it.
In a bathroom in Prague?
No, I was in Montana and I was working on my car and I fell and landed on my face on the concrete and I actually chipped a chunk out of the garage floor and this tooth broke in half.
Oh, man.
I was 19. I was mortified.
Well, yeah.
There was like a big dance coming up like in 2 days and I was just...
So what did you do? Did you go to the dentist?
My parents took me to the dentist that day and they got the fake one on there.
Wow, lucky. Usually it takes time for them to do fittings and everything. Okay, so let's see. The scene where Bond comforts Vesper. Okay, so basically...
The finger sucking scene.
Ugh.
Sorry, that one.
That whole scene was shot in one take, which I thought was interesting.
Well, who wants to do that?
Don't make me do that again.
Yeah, no kidding. And Daniel Craig is the first actor to play James Bond who is younger than the franchise itself. Let's see, to prepare for the role, James Bond, Daniel Craig actually read all of Ian Fleming's books and then watched all of the previous movies as he was preparing for the role.
I wish that all actors would bother.
Yeah.
Take it that seriously, so they actually understand.
So many don't take their job seriously at all. Don't understand a beloved franchise, and then they don't bother immersing themselves in any material at all.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people are like, I didn't want to read the books because I wanted to come with a fresh perspective.
Wrong.
Yeah, not for an iconic character. Like they need to understand the character.
Yep.
Let's see. So that the part where he comes out of the sea in a Speedo, most of the camera crew were having to ward off paparazzi because they're like, it's Daniel Craig coming out of the ocean in a Speedo. Okay, so when Vesper, when she's in the shower sitting on the floor, Daniel Craig, she was originally supposed to be either naked or just in her underwear, and Daniel Craig was like, no, that's out of character. She would be in there fully dressed.
Yeah, she checked out and just walked in there.
Yeah. So, severe PTSD. You're not going to be like, let me undress first and then hop in the shower. No.
Let me hang my clothes up carefully.
Yep.
Yeah. Seductively.
Yes, seductively, yes.
Anyway, I thought that was awesome. Good for him. And Daniel Craig rejected the part of James Bond a year before because he felt that the series had settled into a formula. And then after they did this one and he read the screenplay, he was like, all right, I'll do it now. Yeah, because this one was different. That opening parkour chase scene, is it the one of those in Uganda or whatever?
Madagascar.
Took 6 weeks to film.
It's quite complicated.
Yeah. And then, let's see, Daniel Craig gained 20 pounds of muscle for the role. He adhered to mostly proteins, minimized his carbs, trained 5 days a week, and only did cardio exercises on weekends. And he said that he was in so much pain every day of this shoot because of how physically taxing it was on him, doing all the stunts he had to do and everything. So there comes the age again. It's been several years, and
I would have broken then because...
No, you would have gotten stronger. Oh, you mean literally breaking bones?
Yeah, I'm literally breaking.
All right, so we ready for some takeaways?
Yes.
David, would you like to go first?
Takeaways.
Yeah.
My takeaways would be, I definitely like the pacing, at least for most of it. I like the short, punchy scenes that get to the point, the action points, the intrigue that'll lead you to the next thing. And then I definitely think it's worthwhile trying to come up with ways to surprise the audience, but aren't Deus Ex Machina. The idea that, oh, that makes total sense, but I didn't see it coming. I think if you can pull that off in your writing, it'll really help make you memorable. So that's something I personally strive to do.
Yeah, I like that.
Next one Dialogue. I enjoyed most all the dialogue.
It was good dialogue.
I Judi Dench had some great lines. I mean, realistically, she wasn't in it that much, but every time she was in there, she had good things to say.
She had a reason to be there
in a good way. She definitely shows her intelligence and that she's in charge. Even when she's surprised that he's in her place, she's still snappy.
Yeah.
She's like, "Oh, you come back."
She doesn't let him walk all over her.
Yeah, she does not. And I liked that. I thought she had great dialogue. And we mentioned earlier how both him and M and Vesper can say something to shut him down. And, he might have a one-liner back and then they'll have it right back at him.
Yeah.
I like that. And overall, it's not quite as punchy, but I think even Lashif had some good dialogue when he was talking, whether he was surprised. Even when he's in terror, he's like, "Oh, you'll get your money." And he conveyed the fear of suddenly Mr. White shows up. And overall, I liked the dialogue.
Yeah, that last lose almost killed me. Last loss. That was a great piece of dialogue.
Oh, yes, yeah.
When he gets
the last
poisoned.
hand. That last
hand almost killed me.
Yeah.
And then my other takeaway is, because I write action adventure, I like the action in the show because I like to think about, okay, I want to make sure when I'm writing something, I'm conveying it something realistically. So if you're going to have action in your book, in your writing, I think it's a good idea to watch fights and try to come up with a good way of how would I use words to describe what I just saw and do that, because so many times people can accidentally have a 5-foot arm
yes.
or,
do something that's totally impossible.
Yeah. You can't very well punch out two guys that are coming at you at the same time. It's not very realistic.
No.
And I think watching action scenes can help you visualize in your words how to come out with a realistic action scene, obviously if you're not going too crazy.
Yeah.
But I mean, something that's more of a gritty, realistic fight, you'll be able to look at that and then write a gritty, realistic fight. I guess if you want to write an absurd fight, go watch an absurd movie and for that, because I definitely think cinematically when I'm writing. I watch the scene in my head and then I'm trying to put down the words of what I saw. And so for something like this with so many great action scenes, I think it's great because of what I write.
I agree. No, I agree.
And there's a lot of variety in the action too.
Oh yeah,
There is,
There's different fights happen in different ways. I mean, I love that they come up with tumbling down the stairwell fight.
Yeah, that was fun with her running away the whole time.
Yeah, and they keep avalanching towards her. She's trying to get away, and sometimes they're jumping down to a landing, and any space that she gained between them, she just loses, and it's going down, down, down. That was, I think, a clever way. And it's always good to try and mix it up, because I think you want to have at least a few surprises in your book for the reader of something that's a different way of presenting something they might already know, just to mix up your story.
See, that's a completely separate take right there. You just gave 4 takeaways, because that last one is actually really good. I mean, they're all really good. But
I better quit right now so that I can save one for later.
No, I agree with that. Like having something up your sleeve, it's a way to delight your readers, And if you study how movies do it, how other books do that, then makes your writing stronger.
The reason why we listen to our podcast, the reason why is we can have somebody watch a movie for 2 hours and learn something. They can we'd be like, read this book, and then 30 hours later they're like, I learned a lesson, I guess. Yeah. This is a quick way, and we tried to pick movies people have already seen so they could. Yeah. It's accessible, or maybe some that are obscure that did something really well or badly.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
And then they can learn a lesson in a couple of you can learn a lesson in a couple of hours. Skyline was one.
You see, your guys' take on that actually made me intrigued enough that I thought, do I want to go watch that?
You should watch it. The graphics are so good. The graphics are so awesome.
Yeah, they did. It's an older movie, so it's starting to show.
Yeah,
older, but 2010.
No, your guys' show on it really actually made me think, maybe I should watch that.
And then you'll hate yourself when you're done.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm a Mystery Science Theater guy, so I watch bad movies all the time.
Okay, then you'd enjoy it. You would enjoy it.
We requested that one from them, and it wasn't big enough.
Could they do old movies that are cheap to get the rights to, or big, modern movies? Yeah. Whatever. Jerks.
And it's in between, so alas.
What are your takeaways, Nolan?
Mine are never let your readers get bored. Even when there's downtime, which you need in between action scenes, it should still be meaningful. And they did that in this movie.
They threw in a lot of sex in there.
But they had interactions where he demonstrates his character when not in combat.
Yeah, yep.
I mean, he still wrecks things. He still messes things up. He still gets things right. He still investigates.
Yeah.
He does all those things.
It's always moving. There's something always moving until the...
Right, and they cut out the parts.
Until the boring part.
Yes, okay. But they cut out, they don't, like we mentioned, they don't show him going to the airport and getting on an airplane. Yeah. He's in the Bahamas and then he's in Miami.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And we know he's going there. He's like, oh, the lady tells him he's on a late flight to Miami, and he's like, okay, cool, I'm out. And then he's in Miami. We knew what he was doing. We didn't have to
to Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
From Spain.
Yes.
Have you ever seen Zorro the Gay Blade?
Yeah.
Have you? You're the first person I've met that has outside of this family.
I watched that all the time when I was a kid because it was on HBO, so I would watch it
so amazing.
over and over and over, and I didn't know what gay meant yet. I mean, I was little, so but I liked it.
It's such
Zorro's
a great
cool.
movie.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue, Nolan.
This movie does rebooting well. We've talked about relaunching series and rebooting, and this is an example of where that worked.
Yeah.
They'd gotten off track. They were losing their audience. They brought it back.
Yeah. And this was a great way to bring it back.
Yeah, they brought it back with the same elements. I mean, it's still James Bond. A lot of the same characteristics, but new take that didn't alienate the readers, but improved on it.
Yeah.
So that was good. And then this is kind of related, but a new take on a classic character.
Yeah.
It is new. He is different. It is a new take, but it still feels like Bond. They managed to do both.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's not like the new Star Wars, that don't feel like they're related.
Yeah.
But, I mean...
Don't get me started.
I haven't watched it yet.
Good for you.
I didn't. I'm like...
Good for you.
No.
I've seen 7 and Rogue One.
And 5 minutes of the Last Jedi.
And I was yelling.
And I was like, are we really watching this right now? Because if we're watching it, we're watching it, not yelling at it.
It's going to be both with me. I should just do it on my own so you don't have to suffer through me yelling at it. It's absolutely some of the worst movie making and storytelling that you can imagine.
Anyway, so back to your point.
There are only 3 Star Wars movies is always my point.
Yes.
Anyway.
No, but they did a reboot without it feeling... It still feels like James Bond. And a lot of that is like the exotic locations, the poor...
Yeah, he travels...
You get in those locations.
Globetrotting, like...
the technology.
Yeah.
But this one actually didn't have as many little
gadgets,
gizmos.
No, but he still had enough, and he had nice cars, and
Yeah, he did have some technology. It was enough for him to do his job and feel plausible.
Mm-hmm. But he's also a new agent, so he's not going to have all
the access to all the things.
Yeah,
he doesn't get the spy car with the missiles until later.
I want a car with missiles.
So do I. It's always been a dream of mine. Alas. Anyway, those are your
points. Okay, so my comment here, I've got 3 that are similar to what you guys said, but first, origin stories can be fun. I hate origin stories generally. For the sake
of origin stories?
Yeah.
We've talked about that with sequels, and so this counts as kind of like a sequel because it's a reboot, where you have to give them new arcs out of nowhere, and how much that can hurt the story.
Yeah, so origin stories can be fun. It's fun to see how characters developed their traits and their quirks and then use those throughout the series. Authors aren't going to do this. They're not going to sit and give reboot, not like a movie does.
No.
That would be kind of interesting, actually, though, if I rebooted my series, one of my series.
Well, you could make a character where they literally reboot every...
I wouldn't be able to do that.
That'd be kind of weird, though.
Yeah.
Isn't that what Doctor Who does?
Basically.
Yeah. All right,
season, pretty much it's a new guy.
My next point is a reader's promise. I didn't feel like they gave us a very solid promise in the story. I like it when the setup of the story tells where you are leading. And this one was fine. I thought they could have made it a little bit stronger. But so we've got, the multiple bad guys leading up to the big, big bad guy. But I didn't feel like they made it very clear what the end game was. at the very, very beginning of the movie. But so they could have shaved 20 plus minutes off the movie.
I don't disagree with you on the timing. I think movies often have gotten too long. I think it's like they feel like they have to be 2.5 hours.
What was
now.
the movie we recently watched where we felt like 2.5 hours was perfect? What movie was that? It was just very recent. Oh, Thor Ragnarok.
Oh, yeah.
Thor Ragnarok. It was long, but it didn't feel long.
Yeah, and it's funny now that you think of an hour and a half movie and think, well, that's short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
2 hours is about where I like a movie to be, sometimes a little bit over.
I think the shortest... Who's the shortest one, Lars? No,
No, it was Jurassic World 3, or Jurassic Park 3 was an hour and a half, exactly.
And it was...
Could have had most of it cut out.
It was better than 2.
That's true. I agree.
What?
It was better than 2.
Oh, yes. I thought you said
hated 2. I hated 2.
It was bad, yes. Okay, then my last takeaway is I love James Bond. I love thriller. I love spy, espionage type books. So not everyone who likes your genre will like your book, even if it's a great book. So like I said, this is not my favorite. There's things about this movie that I absolutely love, but my takeaway, my end of the movie is I don't want to watch it again, which doesn't happen a lot for me with movies. I mean, Jurassic World, the last one, I was ready to watch it again, but so we always talk about people who aren't your target audience and they're not going to like your book because they're not your target audience. But we need to address the fact that people who are your target audience will sometimes hate your book too. Even if it's a great book and well written. So I think that's important for authors to remember. Even greats are disliked by people who love that genre.
That's true. Somebody at work hated Tolkien.
Somebody at work?
Yeah,
people at work would hate Tolkien.
No.
You work with...
No, but I mean, he liked fantasy genre, but he absolutely hates Tolkien.
Okay, yeah.
I've been meeting more people like that lately.
Yeah.
Who think it's too slow.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, it's at the stage for epic, so you have to appreciate it for what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that's it. And David, go ahead. Let's have you read your excerpt, because I forgot to give that at the beginning of the movie, or whatever we're talking about right now.
So my book, Brutal... By James Alderdice, my pen name.
And how did you come up with that pen name, by the way? I've been meaning to ask you.
James is my father's name, and Alderdice is my maternal grandmother's name. So
nice.
It's still kind of, in the family.
Yeah, it feels like it's...
And I looked it up. There's no other James Alderdice on Amazon. Alderdice...
Important.
Talking it over with my wife, she thought, oh, that sounds like a fantasy author name.
Yeah, no, I like it. And I like your book cover.
I got that from Demonza.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I think you told me about that. He's good.
Yeah, I think of it as Conan the Barbarian meets Fistful of Dollars, or Yojimbo for anybody that likes samurai movies.
We all like samurai.
And I owe a lot to Dashiell Hammett's Red Harvest too. Was into all of that when I was writing this one.
I'm making David read his excerpt because I think everybody needs a break from me reading sometimes.
So here's a quick short excerpt from probably the last 75%. Their conversation was interrupted by the sound of a heavy slapping hitting the cobbles which echoed down the close-knit streets. Everyone turned to one another in wonder at what could be making such a curious sound. Then it would pause, and there would be a momentary scream of man or beast, a hard crackling and crunch of rending flesh and breaking bones, and then the heavy slapping on the cobbles came closer. "What the hell is that sound?" asked the old man. "I don't think you want to know," said the sellsword. "Quick, get off the street and into cover. Basement or a tunnel." "Why? What is it?" asked Nicene. She put her hands to her ears when a horse screamed in its death throes and was suddenly silenced by the wet, sloppy sound of chomping coming from right around the corner. Nice. "Move fast! Move now! It's fast!" The quick slapping of heavy feet on the road came again, and the massive beast shot its head around the corner. The tongue darted out, tasting the air like a great serpent, while its gaping mouth behind was brimming full of needle-sharp teeth. "I never heard of a lizard being this big," said the old man. "This one is bred of sorcery and ate its kin." "What is it?" gasped Nicene. "Basilisk," grated the sellsword.
Nice.
And I was picturing like a gigantic Komodo dragon.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't want to call it a dragon, so I made him call it a basilisk. No real reason. I just wanted something different.
Yeah. I like that.
All right, so I was in the middle of nowhere. Sorry if that...
No, that's great. It's action. I mean, that's engaging. We want to hook people.
That's the point with an excerpt. I mean, you don't want to... Or the start of your book needs to catch
The
people.
mountains were cold that day.
No, we don't want that.
Yeah. No, it's better to start with something like where the action's going and the characters are already established. That's my
that's one thing with this is no origin. Just in the beginning,
Right in there,
he's just
yeah.
shot right into it, and you got to find out stuff along the way. But I can't stand origins for the most part.
Yeah. Yep. That's me.
They're overdone. They're a crutch for writers because from movies.
Hollywood.
Yeah, because you
Yeah.
go from 0 to 1. It's easy to show arcs. That way, it's harder once they're established.
Yeah.
So it's just lazy writing. Hollywood failures. Sorry.
I want to really thank you guys for having me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for joining us. Any last comments from either of you? I think we've pretty much done last comments, right?
Yeah.
You're staring at me blankly.
Sorry, my brain's shutting down. It's getting late.
You're like, we're done already, right? We haven't even said bye yet. No, we're not done.
We kept him pretty late, so we should.
Yeah,
probably
he has to get up even earlier than you do, I think.
Really?
No, wait, what
4:30?
time do you have to get
It's
up?
the 4th of July.
He has to work. Yeah, we're recording the night before the 4th, which is why you heard fireworks.
I have to work one major holiday a year.
Well, that's an all right one then.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so thank you for listening. And if you have any questions, go ahead and send me an email at Andrea@selfpublishedstrong.com. Where can people actually find you, David, and your books and everything?
My website is www.kingdavidjwest.com.
Oh, really? Very
See,
nice.
he's had a coronation.
Have you had a coronation?
I was just trying to come up with something, and I couldn't take davidjwest.com because a photographer in Springville has it.
Oh, jerk.
Lame.
Yeah.
Do you know where he lives?
Yeah.
I know it's in Springville. That's all I know.
We can take care of him. Nolan and I are on
I
the
just
same
need
page.
his name and social security number, and it's
Well,
yours.
you got his name, David J. West.
We don't need a social security number. We can take him out without that.
I don't know what you're talking about on the podcast.
So I guess I could have put author David J. West, but that just seemed too convoluted. I said forget it, and I think somebody might have even grabbed that, even though I don't know who it is. So I just.
Somebody who's watching you and they're like, he's going to be big.
I don't know. It's funny though, because I mean, I write a little bit of everything that's action, weird westerns, horror, Lovecraftian,
Which is how you
fantasy.
and I got met. How we met was through your horror writing.
Yeah. So learning more about marketing, I said, okay, Amazon's algorithms think I write Lovecraftian, weird Western fantasy historicals.
Yeah, which is
So
not
how am I going
this.
to market myself? Okay, I'll do the pen name and clear the palette. James Alderdice will only do fantasy.
Yeah.
And he outsells me.
Well, he is you, so you outsell yourself.
Yeah.
That's not a
I
bad...
like your real weird westerns, but yeah, I don't think the market's as big.
It's not. It's more I just really enjoy it. I like coming up with the stories, so.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some weird western franchises, but not.
Yeah, it's
not too
a much tougher sell, and it's more just I just enjoy it. But
Yeah, I mean, that's what we learned with like middle grade and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's like you can succeed, but you're like, yeah, I'm number 10 in middle grade royalty.
No, I was number one most of the time in middle grade. It was just being number one means you're pretty...
Number 1 million. On Amazon.
Well, not number 1 million, but yeah, basically, I mean, I was making money. I was making really good money compared to most middle grade authors, and we were like, we can't survive on this.
We're making hundreds of dollars a month.
my best months with weird westerns, I was probably making up to 400 a month with weird westerns, and that was pretty much just the weird westerns.
Yeah.
Because this wasn't out yet, so it was pretty much just the weird westerns. But I thought, hey, 400 to 500 a month, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's nice. It's a hobby. It's not really a hobby anymore at that point because you're actually making.
Well, I mean, that's
real
decent
money.
side money, but if you want it to be full time.
Oh yeah, and that's when I started going, okay, I gotta go to a market that's bigger. I gotta produce more, you know, and still write what I love.
Yeah.
So. A lot of people have said this is fantasy, but a lot of people said it's very Western flavored, even though it's not cowboy.
You just can't get away from it.
It still has that
There's a structure.
that vibe.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so kingdavidjwest.com
And on Amazon.
On Amazon. Yeah,
Also,
check out his stuff.
James Alderdice on Amazon is his pen name.
Yep.
Yeah.
For military fantasy.
Yeah. Military fantasy.
Okay.
Okay.
Dragons and mythical creatures.
Sweet.
Sounds good.
Yeah, I've upped the ante with the next one. I have a lot more weird monsters that I started borrowing from Mesoamerica.
Nice.
You guys would be afraid of Cocopelli.
I always have been. He has his seeds in his back, right?
Yeah.
That's why he's got the hump, right?
Yeah. But is that a flute? Is that a flute? Or is that a big proboscis that sucks blood?
I always thought it was a dart gun, but
That works too.
Anyway. Okay. So go ahead, look up David J. West's books or James Alderdice. I'm very tired. And we'll talk to you all later. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Oh, and thank you, David, for joining us.
You're welcome.
Okay, bye.
Bye.